If you are interested in learning the top 6 stretches that you can do right at your desk or right beside it every hour to help maintain your spinal mobility, then stick around and enjoy this video. So, welcome everyone. I think our seventh or eighth the Sports Clinic webinar series. Today is a nice, practical, easy, light for everyone. Some of these sessions are more educational, where you guys are learning stuff that you haven't seen before. Something like today, it's every motion that we're going to show you guys you've seen before. The whole point of it is to find different strategies to help with your spinal alignment, spinal mobility, posture during a workday. Because I think it was 3 weeks ago, we did a session where I did it here on a yoga mat, and I had to get on the floor, and I showed you guys my 4 top exercises for things to work on maybe after a long workday or before one. There were like yoga-ish type of moves, but we all know that if we're stuck at the office, you can't just go on the floor and start moving like that. So these are some easy stretches you could do at your desk or right beside your desk, so that in that 1 hour when I'm telling people like set your posture reminder and stand up and walk around or move around a little bit, you can do a couple of these moves as well. So both Natalie and myself are going to walk you through those. Natalie was on here about 3-4 weeks ago talking about the difference between physio, osteo, and chiro. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Natalie.
Hey, I'm a chiropractor over at the Sports Clinic. So today I just wanted to go over some stretches you can do at the desk.
So we'll get you to start off with what you would do, starting with your neck, and then we'll kind of go back and forth on the different strategies. And then at the end, we'll come together and we'll just explain how can you break that down in your day so that this makes sense. Because we're going to throw about 6 different movements at you guys. Go for it, Natalie.
Okay, cool. So yeah, neck ones are pretty good. They're easy to do at your desk. You don't need a lot of space. So we'll start off with one of the muscles. It's called your scalenes, your middle scalene. So that goes from the side of your neck and through here into your first rib. So just down below your collarbone. So we're gonna just put our hand just gently on our collarbone, and we're gonna lean to the side, and you should feel a pull on the side here. And we're gonna hold it for about around like 20 seconds, and then coming back. I didn't do 20 seconds, but just for now, we're just kind of warming up the area. And then we'll switch sides. So again, just your hand on your collarbone, and you just lean to the side. You don't have to do anything crazy big movements with your neck. By having your hand on your collarbone, it's actually isolating this muscle more. Good. So the other muscle I want to go over is your upper traps. So they're pretty much this diamond shaped muscle, attaches from the top of your head to your shoulder blades. So to do that, we're going to grab the side of our chair, or if you have long arms like me, you can have your hand behind your back, and you're going to lean to the side. So it's similar to the other one, but you're trying to bring down your shoulder blade.
So that was good for the neck. So the one of my favorite ones is for the chest, because we're often, our shoulders are forward throughout the day when you're on the computer this way. And the anatomy that gets shortened is some of the anatomy that compresses the nerves that go down to the hands, the elbow. So when people come in and they say, I got tennis elbow, and they never played tennis in their life, but they're doing computer work, it's because some of the anatomy from the office, like forward head posture and a shortened pec, compress the anatomy that goes down to the extremities. Same idea for the lower body. For the chest, you just need a doorway, and then you walk through it with your arms down. That's going to get the pec portion that's attached from the clavicle. So the pec is in the chest here. It starts on the clavicle, the sternum is fan shaped, and then attached on the inside of the arm. So you have to do 2 different positions to actually get the whole muscle. So to get the clavicular portion up here, your hands are down and you walk through a doorway and you hold this for 30 seconds. Okay? A lot of people, when they do this, their head goes forward as a reflex, because we're so used to doing that. People do this. Just keep your head on your body when you're doing it. Okay? After the 30 seconds, you go up, and this is going to get more of the sternal part, the part that's here. and then you can go forward with that. Okay. Natalie, what do you got next?
Yeah, so I have one more neck stretch I wanted to do. So one of them is still going to be, because it's attached to your shoulder blade, your levator scapulae, attaches to your shoulder blade and just up through the top of your neck. So you're going to still grab the side and you're going to sniff that opposite armpit. So even though you're working from home, hopefully you wore some deodorant today, and you're going to hold that for a few seconds, and then we'll switch sides. So keeping that shoulder blade down and then looking down towards that opposite armpit. Sorry, my dog just joined.
I love it. I love it.
We're gonna do now into more of the mid back. So big important part is like if you have a lot of tension or stiffness through your upper back, it can put a little more pressure on your neck. Just like Jeremy said, forward head posture, leaning forward like this on your desk. We're all guilty of it. At some point, it's more breaking up that movement. So what I like to do is kind of like a variation of yoga, cat camel. So that's rounding your back into more of that camel pose, and then more into that cat, puffing out your chest. So you want to start off with a few, just rounding your back and then puffing out the chest. And then the nice thing is we can kind of progress this one to include your arms and your neck as well, just so you're avoiding that forward head posture. So you'd have your hands out to your side. I like to do thumbs in, rounded as much as I can. So think of like really bad posture. And then I'm going to start to slowly puff out my chest, turning my thumbs out, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a chin tuck. So not the most flattering, but we're only doing this for a few seconds. So rounding as much as possible, and then puffing out the chest, turning the hands out, and then tucking in the chin. I guess you got bored of it. So you can do that like about 6 times, like every hour or so, just to break up your movement. This one I'm going to show you is, it's not necessarily one that you could pull out in your office, but I figured for home office, try to take advantage of it now while you can. So you're going to try to do either your elbows or your arms on the edge of your couch, chair, bed, whatever is easier. And you're going to come through, and this is going to be focused for that upper area of your thoracic spine. So you're going to start to slowly sink down and trying to get extension through this area, and then rounding up. Key with this is that your head can fit through your hands, and if it can't, just bring your hands a little further and keep it straight. And you're going to be flattening in through here, bringing your chest towards the ground, getting some extension through your spine, and then just doing a little bit of that cat camel, rounding up. I found this one really helpful, especially for that upper back tension, just because it ends up being a limiting factor for your neck.
I like it.
All right.
You get some special kind of attention if you pull that off at the office. So be careful with that. But so no, those are really good. The cat cow in a seated position is easy to replicate just about anywhere. And I like the idea of doing that in a home environment, super relevant for right now. The next one has a little bit of overlap with what you were saying about the chin tucks, bringing your chin in. It's definitely a funny looking one. I mean, it's going to draw a little bit of attention, but it addresses a piece of the anatomy that gets ignored a lot, which is the junction between your neck and your upper back. So this portion right here, and that's where a lot of people eventually get like a bump that forms. Like if you have thousands and thousands of hours spent like this, and you poke your chin out and you're doing computer work, you'll get anatomical spinal alignment changes where you get a little bit of a bump here. So it addresses that bump or that piece of anatomy directly by extending it. It basically takes this posture and does the exact reverse. So if I was going to do like chin tuck exercises, it's like, oh my God, it's noon. It's time to do my stretches here. You just, from a side position, you bring your chin in and then you just bring it back a little bit. And then I feel that isolated to right here. And by the way, everything that we're doing today, you guys can easily do right now in front of your computer. A lot of the other stuff requires you to go on the ground that we did in the past. This one, you guys can try it all, and then you guys can come online and put your video on and ask questions later. But it's bringing your chin towards your neck, and then you just bring your head back a little bit. It doesn't look like chin in and then chin out like this. You got to keep the chin tucked in the whole time. And then from the front, if I bring my chin in, you get that nice little double chin, which we all have one. You should be trying to expose that, and then you go back a little bit. And
just don't take any selfies.
Yeah, what I would do at the office is about 10 of those. And at the end, I'll put it all together. Like, how do I organize these 6 different positions throughout a workday? We'll get to that in a second. The other one that I like, and it, again, goes with the shoulders being forward, it kind of goes with the one that I just showed in the doorway. Is you're going to be doing all these stretches to open this up, and then you're going to want to activate your rhomboids, which are the muscles in the back in between your shoulder blades. And so what you do is in that time off where you get that posture reminder that comes up, you pull your shoulder blades back and down, and you just squeeze them as hard as you can, and then you relax. And you do it again. What you're doing is you're holding that squeeze for 5 seconds, and you do 10 reps. Like these things are super, super easy to do. It's just finding, I think what's hard about this stuff is finding a routine and getting that and putting a reminder at your desk so that you're reminded to do these things so that you don't just walk away from this small presentation and like it just goes through one ear and the other. So we'll get to how to organize that in a second. The last one that I like is when I was saying set a posture reminder, and I talked about that with ergonomics, so that every hour you either change positions or you go for a walk. A nice easy one if you didn't want to go for a walk is you just stand by your desk and you lift your arms up and you push your hips forward, and then you come back down, same thing, arms up, push your hips forward. And that functional full body movement is basically the opposite of a seated position. And again, super easy to do. All right, so the easiest way to put all this stuff together. So you're like, okay, well, I got an 8-hour day to get through, and you just showed me 6 exercises. I'm not gonna remember them. Well, first of all, I'll put these on YouTube so you guys can go back to this. But what I like to do is, let's say today we started with the neck, and then I showed you guys the doorway stretch. So Natalie walked you through going to the side and then doing this one here. So let's say okay, so you're gonna put that together. You'll do 15 seconds this way, 15 seconds this way. So that's 30 seconds on one side. Same thing on this side, that's 30 seconds. So we're up, we have a minute on this side total, and then we're gonna do the doorway one, which is 30 seconds with your arms down, 30 seconds. So that's 2 minutes of work. Let's say that's your first break, right? So you're not gonna do them all every time. And then we had the cat camel that Natalie walked you through. And then I walked you guys through the chin tuck. So the chin tuck, I said, do 10 of these. And the cat camel, where she was going in a rounded position, extending, and you do 10 of those, that's gonna take you another about 1 or 2 minutes to do. And that'd be your second break. And then in the third break, you could do the retractions that I told you about, pulling your shoulder blades back, 5 seconds, 10 repetitions. And then you stand up and you bend backwards 5 or 10 times. So we showed you 6 different things. You can just group them in twos, and every time you have an opportunity or a standing break, you just do 2 of them. It's only going to take you 1 minute, and that will help you get through your day. And then this way you're going to be targeting a lot of anatomy rather than just, let's say, the neck on its own or the cat-cow on its own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and even like if you're really tight for time or like just want to do one thing, you can even just do the combination of it with tucking in the chin and retracting the shoulder blades, as well as getting that cat camel. Just kind of
I would say that's
an easy way to
that hits the most anatomy in one shot. If you do include the neck and you really wrap yourself off and you do this, and then this way you're gonna chest out, so you're getting kind of the doorway a little bit, you're getting the shoulder retraction a little bit, and that chin tuck that I told you guys about, you're getting all that in one shot. So yeah, that's a good one to, if you're like, listen, I can't remember 6 things, I can only remember 1, then remember that one. Any stretching exercises for lower and upper back while sitting or standing? So this upper back was addressed with basically everything we just did. So when I go in the doorway and I put my arms up and I push forward, if you looked at my back from the side, like I'm sitting like this, as soon as I put my arms up in the door and I go like this, my upper back starts to bend the other way, right? It's usually like this. All these exercises are to bend it backwards. So the doorway one, the 2 versions are meant for that. And then when Natalie was explaining this one, where you round your back and then you open everything up, that's obviously upper back as well. Remember I said pinching the shoulder blades, upper back as well. So to answer your question, everything we did had something to do with upper back extension or stretching.
And a lot of like mid back stretching that you do is actually gonna be really helpful for your low back. Usually your low back's getting excessive like in one position because your thoracic spine's a little bit too stiff. Even if you wanted to, you could add like a side bend too to open up the side of your lower back as well.
Yeah,
Nothing's
like
too
listen, we
crazy.
showed 6 things today. There's really like 50. I'm just kind of picking on my favorite 6. You might have a few other ones that you like even more so, but I find this hits the most relevant anatomy that affects most of the people that come in to see me who work at a desk. So like if
Yeah.
you want to do everything you can to counter forward head posture and a rounded upper back, because those things cause indirectly things like neck pain and headaches and tennis elbow and golfer's elbow and carpal tunnel and the core veins and all that stuff. It's like that when someone comes in and has pain here or pain here, I'm going to be looking at the same thing. I'm going to be, if you ever did dissection, you peel the skin off, you'll see that the nerves come in, they go under this muscle here, and then they all come from here. So if you have anything like arthritis in your neck or tight scalenes from forward head posture or a tight pec, it compresses those nerves, and then you become symptomatic distally in these areas. So that's why spending time on doing these neck stretches and the doorway stretches will minimize the amount of neural compression you get up here. And then so when people come in, they're like, I got a wrist problem and I don't touch their wrist. I'm just working on their neck and their chest. They're like, well, why aren't you touching this? Is because the compression and the entrapment is happening up here. And all these postural exercises that we're sharing with you today and that I did a month ago or 3 weeks ago, they're all designed to offload these structures, these pieces of anatomy that cause these distal problems. And it's kind of the same spiel for the lower extremity, knee pain,
Even
glute.
for Yeah, even for like the low back, like your neck position is going to be a big factor too, because the more forward you are, the more flexion you're going to have in your lower back. So if you can get more extension through your mid back and even getting those chin tucks, that's actually been like, there's been research to show it's been helpful for like low back disc injuries. That postural, like having your head less forward can be helpful too.
Yeah.
So you're still
And
helping your low back, even though you don't feel it pull there.
yeah, and this talk is sort of like part 3. Like part 1 was the one where I got on the floor with the yoga mat and I showed you guys my top 4 exercises for the computer worker. And then part 2 was the ergonomic setup, sitting desk, standing desk, posture reminder, and then the option of an ergonomic thing that you could purchase if you wanted to. And then part 3 is like, okay, how do I do some little stretches, some little movements to keep me aligned and mobile throughout an 8-hour or 10-hour day. So this is kind of the closing part 3 of this stuff.